it's Travis here, and welcome back to our adventures in Azeroth. Today we are at the Ravenhill Cemetery. We are going to turn in a quest to Jitters, finding the shadowy figure. Who are you? Leave me be, books from Sven's Farm.
Yes, I'm the author of that book. You finally found me, eh? Well, if you read that journal, then you only know the half of it. The book you found was only half finished. I had to leave it at Sven's farm when I fled there. Here, take my completed journal to Sven. It describes more fully what happened at his farm. Although this journal has been my only company these past weeks, if giving it up keeps me from having to face Sven and his wrath, then I do it willingly.
Alright, well there we go. Now we have the full story of what happened to Sven and his family. We'll check that out this episode, guys. Hope you guys are doing well today. Doing pretty good. A lot of snow. Make sure if you guys are living in the north, make sure you're safe with the snow, guys. A lot of potential heart attacks can happen from shoveling snow, so be careful out there. I was feeling a little bit of chest pain a couple days ago when we were shoveling slush. That stuff is brutal. It's like a heavy, really heavy wet snow. Yeah, be careful out there. And today we need to collect rot blossoms, so we need to slay some skeletal fiends. Probably save the ghoul fangs for later. We'll also return to Sven. Well, let's check out this book, guys. We'll also check out the story of Morgan Lattimore as well. Here it is, Jitter's completed journal. Should we start from the beginning? It's pretty long. Let's start from the beginning, why not? My journal. The terror of these past few weeks is almost more than I can bear. Why is it that by writing words into this book, I can somehow keep the madness at bay? Perhaps it is as if I'm confessing my sins to a silent companion, or freeing my mind of these tortured thoughts and confining them to paper. I began a journal before this one, but it remains in a place to which I cannot return. So I will start afresh. But this time, I will start from the true beginning. I thought this was Morladim. Scared me a little bit. It began with the finding of that cursed scythe in the mine they called Roland's Doom. Yes, that was the start of it. Before that, the Defias Brotherhood was happy with our progress in Duskwood. Before the scythe, the terrors of this place seemed as tame as Northshire Valley. But ever since I found the haft of the scythe jutting from that pile of rubble in the mine and, curse me, pulled it free, Roland's Doom became a place of vile death. If I had known that what would happen, I would have cut off my own hand to keep from grasping that ruined carved wood. So many regrets. I always thought that was a privilege of the old. I now know that it is not the old. It is the hopeless who don the mantle of regret, unable and unwilling to shrug it from shoulders stooped with misery, but enough waxing like a pipe-mad poet must continue with the chronicle. After the scythe was freed, a change rippled through the mine. Light from our flickering torches warped, and the strength of our voices seemed beyond our control. Sometimes a man's whisper roared through the tunnels, forcing hands on ears, and sometimes our shouts barely traveled a few steps before diminishing into a hint on the wind. Unnerving, yes, but we did not have long to wonder at this strangeness. It was a harbinger of what truly drove us from the mine, the Worgen. They came at us from everywhere, and dropping upon us from silent perches above. Half our men fell in those first panic minutes, the rest, including myself, tried to flee. As I ran, I saw so many of my brothers taken by tooth and claw. Heard so many screams cut short or gurgle to silence. For all I know, I am the only human to escape that place. I can only guess why I survived that night. I have always been cautious, always quick to flinch from jabs and leap free of pitfalls. My nickname Jitters comes from this trait, so perhaps it was just that knack for caution that saved me. Or maybe it was the scythe I pulled from the rubble. It cannot be the scythe itself, for I lost it during my frantic flight. But if it was I who brought the Worgen to Duskwood, then perhaps the Worgen afforded me a rare courtesy, curse them. Or perhaps I am doomed to witness the change I wrought on Duskwood. Perhaps it is my fate to watch as the Worgen tear into this land, staining it even darker with their foulness. If that truly is my fate, then it is twofold, for the Worgen are not the only power to clutch at Duskwood. The fiends from Deadwind Pass also staked claim. That is the next chapter of my tale, and I pray it is my last. After surviving the flight from Roland's Doom, I hid within a barn owned by a man named Sven. I spent a few days in that barn, and such horror lingered with me that I never once made myself known to Sven or his family, but from what I saw from my hiding place, I knew that these farmers were quite decent folk. Had I stepped from my concealment, I think they would have taken me in, but trust is hard for me. Harder still after that shock in the mine, so I remained hidden, and it saved my life. A few days after I arrived at the barn, Sven left his farm for Darkshire. He kissed his wife and smiled to his children and promised to return soon with toys and sweets. The poor man, that was the last time he saw his family unmutilated. At least they parted happily, and at least his wife was the first to die, and was freed from seeing the slaughter of her children. But these small graces do nothing for me. I saw what happened, and it will ever haunt my dreams. My hand trembles as I recall the details of that night when Sven was away and his family was doomed to face the Black Riders alone. Again, regret claws at me, for I was there and could have been risen against those fiends from Deadwind Pass, but it was a false regret. It is the same that plagues any survivor of a tragedy. I know that had I left my place of hiding, I too would have been killed. My body ripped and torn, and its pieces spread so widely that I would not be recognized. But even though I know I could have done nothing to stop this heinous murder, one true regret does remain. I brought the Black Riders to Sven's farm. My discovery of the scythe not only unleashed the Worgen upon Duskwood, it drew the riders from Deadwind Pass. I know this because just before they began their slaughter, they asked one question to Sven's wife as she held her children close, giving them what comfort she could, though she was certain death was near. The scythe of a loon, one of the riders shrieked, in a voice both harsh and shrill, like the grinding of an axe on stone. And the last word, a loon, it croaked, as if choking on the sound. Dread gripped me when I heard that voice, both from the horrid sound of it and because I knew the scythe of which the rider spoke. It must be the same cursed thing I drew from the rocks of Roland's Doom days before. It was what the Black Riders sought, and it was what would kill Sven's family. I never learned the name of Sven's wife, as she was only ever called Dearest and my love and mommy by her husband and children. But I wish I knew it. I am the only living memory of her deed that day. And although she was just a farmer's wife, never have I seen a man or woman act with such bravery. Of course, she did not know of the scythe. But when she learned the riders sought it, in an instant a plan formed in her head. And it was bold and clever, if only it had worked. The scythe, she said in a calm voice, of course I do. Who here wouldn't? She looked at the riders with the steady eyes, and I would have sworn she spoke the truth if I had not known better. There was no way she could know about the scythe. Her gambit paid off. The same rider who uttered the question before bent his head slightly toward her and shrieked, "Where?" "I'll take you, all of you," she said, and I could see a small hope flicker behind her eyes. "But the way is far, and my children would slow us. We must leave them." Her trick was simple, but simple tricks have the best hope of success. If it worked, it would lead the riders away from the farm. She would be lost, but her children would be safe. And it would work if only the riders believed her noble lies. Although I have never been a student of the light, I prayed fiercely for Sven's wife, and she stood against those terrible riders. Please, I prayed, let them believe. They stood frozen, and she met their gazes with calm. Then one rider looked up as if hearing a distant call. He drew from his garb a small gem and peered into it, then gestured with the bauble towards Sven's wife. A light crept from the riders toward the woman, shaping itself into a grim white hand. She stared into the light, unflinching, but I could see uncertainty behind her mask of confidence when the hand reached her and it spread its fingers over her head and it squeezed. Sven's wife stood rigid as a board, and her eyes grew wide, although her lips pulled back to mouth a scream. No sound escaped. After a few moments of this torture, the hand released her, dropping her to her knees. The rider who held the bauble then sat erect in his saddle, and a loud voice erupted from it. "This woman lies," it said in a voice that has scarred my dreams. "She has not seen the scythe." After this, the rider's shoulders stooped slightly, as if a spirit within him had fled. And then in the old shrieking voice it used earlier, these final words were uttered. "The Lord has spoken. Kill him. Kill them." I cannot describe what happened next. It is clear in my mind, but even my wretched soul cannot put paper to the events of those next few grisly minutes. I can only write that Sven's family was killed, and soon after Sven returned to this grim, deathly scene, such grief was in him that I was afraid to show myself. And so afraid was I that he would find me, I fled from my hiding spot in the barn. I do not know where Sven is now, but I pray he will someday find peace. I spent the next few weeks moving from place to place, never lingering for fear of the riders. I am now in the abandoned town of Raven Hill. As always, hiding, I cannot face whatever power they used against Sven's wife. And I know it searches Duskwood, even still, for the scythe. It is lost to me, and I thank the light for this. For had I kept it, I know I would have been found. Even now, I know in my heart that I will be found. I'm so tired. There we go. That is Jitter's journal, guys. The completed journal. It talks about the Black Riders. The Black Riders are actually servants of Medivh, and they come from Deadwind Pass. And in Deadwind Pass in the south here is Karazhan. Who the heck is Mage Daddy? These guys want to kill skeletal fiends. I have no problem with that. Let's finish that off with these two. Give them some buffs. So yeah, Sven's family was killed by Medivh. He was the one. He was their lord who said kill them. That was Medivh, and Medivh is trying to collect these powerful heirlooms or powerful weapons. That's what he's trying to do. And he has enslaved the Black Riders to go and collect them for him. They're pretty much enslaved by Medivh. They have no choice but to do what he says. Sort of like, you know, the demons that are enslaved by warlocks. And the Scythe of Elune, there's actually a story about that. It was used by a night elf. And the night elf decided to bring the Worgen to Azeroth to help fight against the Burning Legion. And you find out about that in Felwood. And she used the Scythe of Elune to summon the Worgen. The problem is when she summoned the Worgen, they didn't really listen to her for too long. And they, you know, ended up, you know, forming their own faction. But they eventually joined the Alliance, right? But they had trouble controlling them. I need a few more fiends here. Don't really care to slay ghouls, but if these guys want to do that, it's fine. Because I kind of want to just turn these in. I want to turn in the rot blossoms, and then because I think when we give the hermit his zombie juice, he'll tell us to collect something from the ghouls here, so we can get the ghoul fangs and what we need for the hermit at the same time. I'm pretty sure. But it's a cool story. They don't really have many stories like that in the game that have that much detail. And it's very dark too. They don't really have stories like that in any expansion. Like books that you can pick up and read that are dark like that. What do I have to do here? We still need skeletal fiends. These are horrors. We're looking for fiends. This guy found a fiend. Lucky guy. There's a fiend. Just 2 healers. Horror. Healer. Fiends are kind of hard to find. But we got most of it done while reading that story, so that's good. And then there's the other one. There's another one. We'll check out this. The story of Morgan Lattimore. Morgan Lattimore was a great and noble knight. We should actually try to find him and fight him with these mages. He was a great and noble knight who fought in defense of innocent and poor. In the defense of the innocent, the poor, and the afflicted. For many years, he worked diligently throughout the outlying areas of Azeroth, bringing relief to the suffering and swift justice to evildoers. He was married to a young girl named Bliss in the summer of his 18th year. They were much in love with each other and would eventually produce 3 children, a son and 2 daughters. Morgan was 32 when war broke out. Lordaeron, Morgan was called to the side of the legendary Paladin Uther the Lightbringer to fight against the orcs and the undead. Leaving his wife and children in the safety of his home, Morgan left for war. The years passed and the war dragged on, and Morgan would witness many horrific events, including the disbanding of the Paladins of the Silver Hand, the death of Uther, and the spread of the plague. The only thing that kept him from the brink of madness was the knowledge that he would someday be reunited with his wife and children. Morgan would eventually return to his homeland, but find it nothing like how he remembered it. The once verdant forest was corrupted and teemed with the undead and other dark forces. Destroyed houses and farms could be found everywhere, and the cemetery near Raven's Hill now dominated much of the area. A shocked and bewildered Morgan eventually made his way to his home, only to find it in ruins. Not knowing what had befallen his homeland, he headed towards the village to find answers, and he hoped his wife and children. Morgan inquired about his family, but would not find any answers. A priest in Darkshire, as it was now called, said that he might search the cemetery at Ravenhill for a gravestone. Morgan refused to believe that his family was dead and continued to search every farm and house in Duskwood, but to no avail. Morgan rode from Darkshire to nearby Lakeshire, thinking that perhaps his family had fled on his way. There he decided, against his better judgment, to stop by the Ravenhill Cemetery. Morgan spent hours walking amongst the gravestones. He recognized many names of people that he knew and became more and more distraught. Then he saw a small, untended plot amongst the many with 3 small gravestones. A feeling of dread washed over him as he approached. Morgan brushed off the dust of the most prominent gravestone to reveal the name on it. Simply carved out on the grave, letters spelled out his worst fear: Liz Lattimore, beloved wife and mother. Morgan's apprehension turned to dismay, and then to grief, as he fell to his knees weeping. For hours he stared at that one grave, begging the cold stone for forgiveness and sobbing apologies. Then hours later, something in him snapped, and he began to lash out. He brought his sword out of its scabbard and began to rain blows on the gravestone. Screaming in rage, blind in his fury, he lashed out and swung wildly, catching the notice of a trio of cemetery attendants. As they tried to restrain him, he turned his focus to them, hurling accusations of guilt upon the innocent attendants, then killed them all. Later, when the rage had passed, realization crept into Morgan's mind, and he saw his bloody sword driven into the chest of one of the attendants, driven to the brink by his emotions. He removed his belt knife and plunged it into his heart. Morgan Lattimore's body and the 3 bodies of his victims were found. The next day, he was quickly buried without ceremony in a hastily dug grave on the outskirts of the cemetery, because Morgan committed murder against innocents, something that went completely against his beliefs and his nature, and because of the grief that he held in being unable to save his family, Morgan could not die a peaceful death and lived on as one of the restless dead. Only days later, his grave was disturbed and his body could not be found. The being that was Morgan now wanders Duskwood, consumed by his grief over the loss of his wife and children and his own self-hatred. Morladim, as he now calls himself, roams Duskwood with madness, with mindless vengeance and hatred, and has been known to commit murder indiscriminately. And he reminds me of, he kind of reminds me of, he reminds me of Skeleton King in Dota 2. Character. I think it's named Skeleton King. The lower his health gets, well, he eventually enrages and he starts swinging like super fast. So these guys left us. Maybe we'll kill Morladim another day. I don't think we can kill him at level 28 by ourselves. That was fun. We got that quest done over there, so that's good. So let's head over here and we'll have a chat with Sven. And he will find out what happened to his family. He believes the necromancer who lives here killed his family, but it's not true. It's not true at all. It was Medivh. Be cool if there was a storyline where Sven, travels into Karazhan and in the search for Medivh.
Need help?
Did you find who the shadowy
This
figure
journal
was?
explains much to me and sets me on the path against the Dark Riders. I have seen these riders in Duskwood and have seen them speak with the wizard Morbin Fell at the Forlorn Road. Morbin Fell is a necromancer and an ally to the Dark Riders. I would pit you against the power of Morbin Fell, but I will not send you against that vile fiend without first knowing your strength. You have already proven your bravery to me, but if you truly wish to face the necromancer, then you must now prove your skill against his minions.
The people of Darkshire thank you, adventurer. You have
Yeah,
proven
level
yourself to be
29.
a great ally of the Night Watch. The situation in Ravenhill is still grim. The safety of Darkshire is in your hands, adventurer. I don't have enough watchers to keep the town safe. We need you to dispatch for Ravenhill yet again and rid the Eastern Mausoleum of 20 plague spreaders.
Good, you got the rot blossoms. And I'll tell Althea Ebonlock of the Night Watch that you were killing skeletons. Keeping the people of Darkshire safe is a grim burden for the Night Watch, and news that others are helping stem the tide of fiends in Duskwood is welcome news indeed. Here's your zombie juice. And be careful with this stuff. It's strong enough to raise the dead.
Alright, there we go, guys. We got level 29. I decided to get another rank of Improved Judgment, the final rank, which decreases the cooldown of our Judgment spell by 2 seconds. This guy wants to duel. Is he a hunter? Okay. This guy gonna duel him? I'll duel this guy. He's gonna drop a... Let's wait a bit here. He's stunning us. He's gonna kite us forever. See if we can catch up to him. There we go. We stunned him. Hopefully we can finish him off here. Get him! We don't have another stun. Throw this bag of marbles at him. He's gonna kite us forever. There we go, we got him. Yeah! Seal him up. Yeah, good duel, man. Good duel, you were kiting me pretty damn well. Alright, well, there we go, guys. You got to check out the story of Amor Ladim and also story of Sven and his family. Next episode, we will be back at Ravenhill Cemetery, guys. We will deliver the zombie juice, and we will complete these quests here. We'll do a lot of questing in Ravenhill Cemetery. Hopefully, we can find a group to take down Amor Ladim as well. But as always, guys, thanks for watching. Keep your heads up. Later.